Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live workshop from the EVMxIdeathon. This is the final workshop that we'll be having. The previous, if you haven't seen, if you go, you're currently watching this likely either on Twitter or on YouTube. Find your way to the Helios YouTube channel and you will actually be able to watch all of the previous live streamed events up to this point. We had an opening ceremony which describes what this is and how one would register and actually submit a project into the EVM or Ideathon tracks. We had a design thinking workshop, the do's and don'ts of submitting a pitch project. If you're trying to create something, what should you or shouldn't you do in that process? We had a pitch deck workshop, which was really important. If for part of the Ideathon track, you actually are expected to submit a pitch deck. So what should that pitch deck look like, or what could it look like at least? There's many variations of pitch decks. Then we had an Antelope overview, and that's where basically as part of your Ideathon, you don't have to code anything. This is a really low barrier to entry project. Or at least an opportunity to submit a project. However, there does need to be some consideration of the viability of the judging category. And if you head over to EVMxIdeathon.devpost.com, there is a rule tab there. Scroll down and you'll see all of the requirements and actually what you're being judged on. And one of those is viability. So that viability is related to how feasible would it be to actually implement your idea onto an Antelope blockchain. So we did see a question and a discussion recently about can this be for Ethereum or for some other blockchain? And in strict, I mean, yes, you could submit an idea for one of those blockchains. It's not against the rules per se. However, your judging would likely suffer a bit in terms of that viability piece, and which strictly does specifically points out the Antelope suite of blockchains. So certainly I would encourage folks to maybe consider that as being the intended deployment blockchain or suite of blockchain. Antelope is a tech stack, right? So there's many chains tied into that. Then we had a tokenomics gamification workshop, which touched on, again, a lot of do's and don'ts, what to consider if you're going to add a token to your project, if you want to gamify that token. DeFi, different types of utility tokens was a big piece of actually adding utility and a kind of a raison d'etre of the token in mind. And now today, we've got the community development and marketing workshop. So this is again, a live workshop. We are live, and you are encouraged, highly encouraged to ask questions. So if you've got some questions for our presenter, who is Waxa from the Helios team, also an EVMxIdeathon chief delegate, ask them in the comments. We'll bring those over and Waxa can answer those. Just in terms of where we're at with the EVMxIdeathon, we currently have 509 registered participants. Now that is a good number. And a lot of those are teams. So this doesn't mean we're going to have 509 unique submissions, but it does mean that we have that many individuals who've actually signed up. So that's great to see. In total, there are $125,000 in prizes. 50,000 of that is going to the Trust EVM track, which is very focused on GameFi. So, and this is the more difficult to enter, more traditional hackathon where you actually need to code something and deploy it onto the Trust EVM testnet. So that has $50,000 in prizes, like I say, that will be awarded to 21 recipients. There's top 3. And what will happen is we're going to have a final live event on November 14th, and we will actually get to hopefully see a demo from the top 3 from the Trust EVM track. Secondly, we have the Ideathon track. That has $75,000 in prizes. That will be distributed equally to the 5 different categories within the Ideathon track. Those categories are GameFi again. Then we've got DeFi, Social Good, Gov3, and Web3. Each of those will have 6 winners. The bottom 6th through 4th place will receive $1,000, and then 3rd, 2nd, and 1st will not be decided, that order, until the live event on November 14th. So what will happen is we'll basically have like a Shark's Tank or Dragon's Den if you're in Canada, one of those sort of live pitch type deals, and that will happen live right here on the same channel. So bookmark that. It starts at 1300 UTC on November 14th. And that should be kind of fun. We'll have the presenters basically pitch their project, pitch their deck live. We'll have a panel of judges. We'll be announcing those judges in the next week, basically. We'll drip those out so everyone knows who will be judging. And then we'll actually be able to crown first place for each of the 5 categories within the within the Ideathon, and then 2nd and 3rd as well. So that's all coming up. You have 10 days left to submit. The submissions end on October 31st. So if you want to submit for either the Trust EVM GameFi track or any of the Ideathon categories, you need to do that by October 31st. Late entries are not allowed. It simply just locks up. DevPost won't let you do it. So, and there's no special favors. Don't send emails. If you're a procrastinator, you know that the famous line, procrastinators unite tomorrow. Don't be that guy. Try to do it in advance. So in case you have any issues with submitting, you can let us know. If you have issues with submitting and you've got questions, head over to it's the EOS Network Foundation Discord channel. And in there is a Ideathon / EVM GameFi hackathon track and or channel. Sorry, again, live, allowed to make mistakes. Head there, ask questions, we will answer you. In addition, on the actual DevPost website, there is a discussion section where you can also ask questions. So with all that said, I will bring in our special guest today, Chris Waxa. Welcome, Waxa, to the stream.
Hi, Chris. Thank you.
I'll pull up I'm gonna get out of your hair now and let you take it over. Here's your there's your deck, and I will be gone. Questions, please, folks. Ask them, and I will bring those in. Good luck, Mr. Waxa.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you, everyone, for joining, especially those listening live. And it's brilliant. I'm really looking forward to seeing your ideas for the Ideathon when you submit them. So a little bit about myself before we start. I had my first marketing client when I was 16. And over the last 18 years, I've had probably way over 30 clients. I'm currently the marketing manager for Helios VC. So today we're going to be covering a general marketing workshop focused around community development. And then towards the end, I'm going to talk about briefly what we'd like to see in your pitch deck presentation for when you enter into the Ideathon. Also, as a note before I start, this presentation will be available as a PDF, which you can download from the Helios blog, which will be written in the next few days. So first off, what is a community? Well, from the dictionary definition, the relevant part here is people who are considered as a unit because of their common interest. Obviously, the common interest in our case will be based around your idea or business model. From a marketing perspective, a collection of your most loyal customers with the highest lifetime value is your community. So what do I mean by highest lifetime value? Well, it's the customers that you have acquired already that are going to be providing your business with the most value over the longest period of time. So you can see the quite a contrast between the two definitions. And we're focusing on the marketing perspective. So with all marketing, we always start with the target audience. And we're going to be we're going to identify a target audience for your business proposition and your idea. Traditionally, we consider age, gender, income, lifestyle, geographic location, the platforms that your community exists on or potential community exists on, their preferences, the category market size, the purchasing potential, their motivations, and also any marketing ideas that you already have, which might determine your target audience. And of course, you can have multiple target audiences. So in our circumstance, when we're considering community development, we need to take into consideration who wants to use your idea versus who do you want to join your community. So who are the people that are going to be interacting with your business proposition and your business as a whole compared to the people that you want to join the community? So are they going to be the people, who are going to be the audience would provide you with the longest value over time? And also we need to take into consideration platforms as well. So if you're, for instance, number 6 on the left here, if your audience currently exists on YouTube, then you may consider having a broader target audience, because that's the nature of the platform, to reach more people on YouTube in particular, whereas other platforms prefer a more granular approach. So because we're building a community, we have our idea or business model target audience, people that you want to purchase your product. And then we have what we would consider as your perfect community member target audience. So what type of people do you want to join your community? And then in the center here, we have the people who are going to be interested in your product, but would also fulfill the category of perfect community member. And that's a sweet spot here that we'll be interested in the center. So that's only a select portion of your overall target audience for your business. So what are the benefits of having a community? One of the main things in particular is that we can cut through the communication noise and competition of social media. Obviously, that being one of our at the forefront of our communication channels is the social media platforms. And on there, the algorithms make us compete for our audience's attention. For instance, on Twitter, your followers will follow yourself, but also maybe some of your competitors and various other people. And the content you put out there has to breach all of the other information to reach your potential target audience. Whereas with the community, you can directly interact with them, and you know, based on how you've created the community, that they are your most loyal customers. So the personal connections you can have with your target audience will help instill trust and greater loyalty. And that's something which is highly valuable and adds to the lifetime value of your customers. You can receive easily accessible feedback. So in Web3, we're often producing white papers and timelines. And this is a good way to get direct feedback from your target audience, your customers, on what they think you should be doing or what they need most. And they also act as growth accelerators. And what I mean by that is they help promote your product because they have a brand association. They like what you stand for. They've found value in your product, formed a community about it, and are happy to share, which is really useful. So where is your community going to be located? So you can have a community on almost any social platform, but there are a few specifically designed for community development. And these are the conversation platforms, which are the many to many. So it's many people talking to many people at once. And some popular ones which you'll be familiar with are Discord and Slack. You may be familiar with Tribe and Circle. And also I've included WhatsApp and Telegram here because you can have very good interactive groups on there. And we often see those in cryptocurrency. There's also the broadcasting, so the one-to-many platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Reddit. And you can have communities on there because the platforms have facilitated that process. They've seen the value in developing these communities based around particular interest. For instance, on Twitter, you can have Twitter Spaces, Twitter groups. On Facebook, you've got Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and Reddit pages, etc. So ideally, you want to be selecting a platform that's designed specifically for community support and development. But if you find that your platform, that your audience is, for instance, all on LinkedIn based on your idea, then perhaps you'll start using LinkedIn groups as your predominant form of community platform.
Mr. Wexler, just a question on how any suggestions on how one would determine which platform their community is aggregating on, like sort of to pick one of these? Is there any sort of tips maybe there?
Yeah, sure. So I slightly covered it there. So as we're doing the target market research, and you find, so for instance, I'm doing, my business is very corporate, and the current corporate world is Web 2 located on LinkedIn. So I know that there's a particular interest group based around my idea on LinkedIn, but it's more disparate on Twitter, so it's harder to identify. Whereas I can tap into what already exists on LinkedIn, and therefore I may break the mold and not use Discord or Slack, but stick to something more professional like LinkedIn to develop my community on that. So it's all about the good target audience research in the initial stages. But we often find in Web3 that people are using Discord and Telegram and so on. Discord being probably the best choice for the majority of projects and ideas coming up for the EVMxIdeathon. Oh, I should have had a drink ready. Okay, so why would people want to join your community? This is the big question. And your potential members have to see value in joining. And value is the key word here. So people may join for the networking effect or collaboration. For instance, you may be running an NFT project, which you could only complete the set in that NFT project if you worked with other users, and your other users only exist on Discord. So that might be a reason to join. You may join to fulfill your curiosity by finding out more information. Perhaps you've created an intrigue. Perhaps the information about your business is mostly or best used and best explored on your community page. And a sense of belonging. So this is something quite hard to establish, but once everyone has started communicating with shared values and shared interest, a sense of belonging as relationships develop begins, which is something which helps keep your participants there for a longer period of time. And there's also potential financial reward for joining. So for instance, community members may receive something which enables them or entitles them to a discount for your product. And entertainment. Majority of communities have a form of entertainment, whether it's a particular section within their Discord channel, for instance, that's focused on memes. So once you've identified the value proposition, the reason for your audience to join, or your target audience to join, how are you going to grow that community? And the first step is outreach, which is where we take our target audience and let them know about the values or the value that they could gain by joining the community. And the second is leading by example. So first off, reaching your target audience. So this is where we start to use the one-to-many platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, etc. Email campaigns, posters, digital ads, guerrilla marketing. So this is any form of communication. And we want, when we're making the invitation to our platform, our community platform, we want to be quite specific. There have to be that, on the Venn diagram earlier, we have that section in the middle. So we've got to identify the ideal community members from our existing community, say followers on Twitter. We'll need to do that. You can use external software, for instance, to see who is interacting with you the most. Generally, if you're on your social platforms, quite often you'll see people who are returning with comments and interactions. And it would be good to send them a direct message, providing them with a value proposition for joining the community. And as you do so, whenever you form an invitation to your community, the call to action is paired with the value proposition. So you want to be saying, join our Discord because you can have this value. You want to be discoverable. So for instance, you have all of your social platforms, websites, or perhaps groups that currently exist, and you want to be directing them all to the central location where you have your community platform. So in this circumstance, we have Discord in the middle. For instance, on the right here, you'll see that YouTube, we have call to actions in our YouTube videos. For instance, you can join the Helios community now on Discord. And we also have links in the descriptions, which you will find on YouTube by the time this is gone live, and a link in the bio as well. It's the same for all the other platforms. You want to be giving you directions to your community. Just making them as easily discoverable as possible. And that's pretty much it for that section. Just be discoverable. Another thing to take into consideration is when you are doing your general marketing campaigns. So we're always trying to develop and build our community. So we've got to start building our marketing material to suit and fit. So in this circumstance, we're planning an event. It could be a Twitter Spaces, could be the latest update video that you're putting out on YouTube. It could be a workshop on community building. What we want to do with that, potentially in this circumstance, is to write a blog. And in the blog, it's the initial stage of value. The event itself hasn't happened yet. So we're writing a blog, providing an extra level of value, which is first shared with our community on Discord. So the community members are gaining the benefit here of receiving that value before anybody else. The next step is to reach out on the platforms, the one-to-many platforms. In this circumstance, it's Twitter. So we're writing a Twitter thread, which is then shared on Discord as well. Because what we want to do is we want our community members to share our Twitter content. The more interaction we get on that Twitter thread, the more social impact we'll have on the platforms as well, hopefully resulting in more members. So we've already taken 2 steps, and the event itself hasn't even happened to build our community. Further down the line, before the event itself, we'll be sharing that with our community, and then we'll be having the most interaction within our community to discuss what the event was about and how that provided value. Perhaps you can have additional value added there as well within those discussions, while amplifying before, during, and after for the event itself on our one-to-many platforms. Sorry, I've got a terrible cough. So the second section is leading by example. You want to be the community member delivering the most value. So this is where you kind of step away from being a business, or in our circumstance, an idea, and become the most valuable community member. You want to take actions as an individual that you want your community to also take. So for example, you have an event coming up, or you see a tweet about the project, you might share it within the community and let them know that you've just quote retweeted it from your personal account or your persona account in this circumstance. And nobody knows your idea better than you. So because of that, you can provide the most value to the community because you have the greatest knowledge. And always appreciate and recognize other value providers in your community. So as you start to grow your community, you'll see that other people are providing value, and they are your most valuable members themselves because of that. My throat's going. Okay, so why will members stay in your community? So you've got them in, you started to grow, you have quality over quantity, and now you need to, why do they want to stay? So as you grow your community, how do you keep members engaged? One of the ways to do it would be to offer incentives and rewards. There's a website called top.gg, which you can check out. And that provides multiple bots for Discord, which offer rewards. And it's worth exploring there because you'll probably find something suitable to your idea. And there's many bespoke ideas on there in the form of bots for interaction. You need to continually provide unique value. So it's continued value, but also unique value. So you've got the members in based on an initial value proposition, but why are they going to stay? They need to continue to receive those benefits or values. One way to do that is to provide the value there within the community first before you share it on other channels, which was in the example we shared earlier. It's also, you have to consider the evolution of your audience as well as the community grows, and your value proposition to that originally got your community members engaged may have evolved into something different, and they now seek another value. So you have to stay on top of your community, and that's done by good relationship development via communication. So the relationship development within a community is very different from the one on many platforms. You can have multiple one-to-one conversations within an open kind of platform. So for instance, in a community chat, you can talk to people directly and have those relationship building communication. Exactly. Lifelong friends are found in communities. Completely agree, Lisa. And that's exactly what you're trying to develop. So what to expect when starting your own community? One thing to take into consideration is to not be disheartened by the cold start. The cold start is you've just set up your Discord channel, you've already got an established Twitter channel, but nobody's joining your community, or you have very limited members. And it's not to be disheartened at this point. It's quality over quantity. You want to have those relationship developing conversations and really start to provide value so that your community members want to share your community to get more members in so others can benefit from the value that you're providing. And the idea here is that if you provide value to your target audience, they will join. And if they stay to continue receiving value, you will grow your community.
Question, Mr. Wexa. So in terms of creating these relationships within a community, within what you're trying to do you suggest that individuals come out and project organizers be themselves? Basically, like, is there a benefit to coming out and say, hey, I am me, here's my face, versus using a pseudonym or just sort of hiding behind an avatar? Any difference in that in terms of kind of building the community out?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are interested in a project and you find out the project manager is now having a direct conversation with you about your concerns or interests, you'll become more committed to that community. You're committed to the project because you have had an influence on that. I think it's extremely valuable and highly recommended for anyone building a community that's based around their own project to be as intimate as possible with their community. Showing up is really important. If anyone else has any questions throughout, please just put them in chat and I'm happy to answer them. And there'll be a section at the end to ask them as well, which is very soon. So what to expect when starting your community? I've done this slide already. I'll go back next one. Okay, presenting your intentions. Okay, so obviously here we are looking for a pitch presentation for your Ideathon entry into the EVMxIdeathon. That's a mouthful. So sometimes the best way to sell your idea is to tell us how you're going to sell it. So does your business model have an inbuilt marketing process so that it can sell itself? One example of this, a few years ago, I came up with which I haven't implemented yet, probably might still, a business proposition and business itself, which included the use of influencers. The influencers on this platform could be encouraged to promote products, for instance. So the business model itself was designed so that the participants or the members joining that business would promote it. The first step for any influencer joining the business was to see how capable they were as influencers by selling the project, selling the business itself. So if your business model has that included, it shows that you've really taken into consideration how you want to develop your community, as well as your marketing capability. So at the very least, what we'd like to see in your pitch deck would be to see your intentions for marketing and your community development. So reiterating the value that your product has or service, and how that, and yeah, sorry, I'll just reread that. Reiterating the value your product or service delivers to your target audience. So that'll be really great to see in your pitch decks. And that is it for now. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Wexit. Your throat held out okay?
Just
barely. Yeah, so okay, if people do have questions, of course, they can come to you. Both of our throats falling apart. They can join you. You're obviously very active in the community anyway, but probably the best places are the Discord, Helios Discord, and of course we're checking all the messages in the EOS Discord, EOS Network Foundation Discord, and the hackathon channel there. Any other ways to keep in touch with you, Waxa, that people should know about?
No, but I'd just like to say thank you to everyone in the chat as well. It was great to see you here, and thank you for joining. Lisa, Phoenix, Hokentech, brilliant.
Too much partying.
Oh, I wish it was.
Yeah, exactly. Sadly not. We do have an actual. We do have a question here though. Hokentech, how to manage different languages like Hokentech, Italian, and then English? Any suggestions on multiple language?
Well, I guess you probably have either different sections within your community for various languages. The hard part would be the translation. There are a few good translation services out there that do cost, but you could always resort to Google Translate if needed. Or if you've got the capability, perhaps that language community manager. So for English, for example, you might have an English community manager for your project.
Very good. And I guess, yeah, it does get awkward if you have, say, a Twitter to do it in multiple languages. Should you break a tweet down, English, other language, tweet twice?
You probably have two different accounts.
Two separate accounts. Okay.
Yeah. So you can keep your audiences separate, and then you can also have different call to actions, because you wouldn't want to be inviting them both to the same community necessarily.
Got it. Let's see. We've got a couple comments here. Lisa Chandler can set up a group for translators and invite them, and then share the news with them.
Yes, Lisa. Great idea.
And then from The New Legend, we have a question here. Any suggestions about choosing community members for some responsibility of the project? Basically, growing your team based on the community that forms around the idea.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity as you start to grow your community. I think what you'd be able to do is let the community know that you'd be looking for those roles to be filled, and then see who steps up, see who's most engaged, see who messages you directly with the intention. And then you can obviously filter out of those members which you're most familiar with. So you can get people who are really engaged in your product already and enthusiastic about your idea. And then out of those, you'll be able to pick somebody who'll be very good in the role that you're looking for. So it's a good way to build your teams from your community, definitely.
Lisa's suggestion here is pick people who who choose you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Totally agree.
Yeah. Then it's not forced. It comes natural.
Yes.
Right on. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this final workshop presentation. So keep in mind, November 14th is when we will have the final live event, and definitely think that will be pretty fun. It'll be a little longer. So that way, again, starts at 1300 UTC. We'll have a brief intro. Then I think we'll kick into doing the live presentations from the 15 Ideathon projects, which should be roughly 9-ish minutes each. So about 10 minutes per project is what we're going to allow. So it's like a 5 to 7 minute pitch, plus maybe one question or two from the judges. and we'll just kind of quickly kind of speed through that. It'll be on this platform, so it'll be this similar sort of setup, and I think it'll be pretty fun. And then after that, we'll go through the projects. Then we'll break over to the Trust EVM team, who will have a live demo of their top 3 winners, and then we'll bring back the judges to essentially give us their final ranking and who were the grand prize winners of the Ideathon. So what will happen is, again, just to kind of backtrack before that, October 31st, everything is due. We will announce the basically suite of winners by November 9th. So no, maybe not. I take that back. No, we will internally have the final set of winners figured out. Then we have to do a set of suites checks with them through DevPost, essentially like a KYC process for those who receive prizes. And then a couple days after that, we will announce the winners for the EVM track, and the 6th through 4th for the Ideathon, and then whoever the top 3 for each of the other 5 Ideathon categories will be also announced, but not ranked. So that will be saved for the 14th of November, which we will do live. So with that, thank you everyone for being here, and we will see you in terms of a live event, like I say, November 14th. But stay tuned to all of our Twitter and follow us on all the Discord and all the channels there as we announce. And we'll also, those who have opted into the receiving emails will get a copy of this. So when you sign into the DevPost platform, you can select a little checkbox to receive communication from us, and this is the type of stuff you'll get. If you, we did have one comment from someone earlier on asking about getting a copy of this deck. So if you've already signed up to the platform and you didn't check that box and it's too late to fix it, or if you just aren't going to do that, that's fine. Just message us. You can either PM us on Twitter, or you can comment in the section below here, and we'll try to reach out to you. We'll follow the YouTube channel comments as well to make sure everyone gets a copy of this, because we want this to be educational. So
yeah, I'll be writing a blog, and I'll include this pitch deck. So if you follow us on Discord, you'll be able to get a link there, and also on Twitter, I'll be posting in there as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Axa. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.